The United States was supposed to be a place where anyone could go and seek freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion, no matter what the color of their skin was or where they came from. But how and why did the US begin to exist? What happened? What was our Revolutionary War like? And how did it inspire the French Revolution? In this video, we're going to be answering those questions and more as we learn a little bit of English through history. Hello and welcome to our exploration of the history of the Revolutionary War, a pivotal moment in history that shaped the United States and continues to shape countries today. I'm Benji with Learn English with Benji. In this first episode of Learn English Through History, we're going to dive into the Revolutionary War. Chapter 1, Why it happened. To understand why this happened, we have to go back to before it happened. You see, before it happened, we weren't the United States yet. We were but 13 colonies, completely controlled by the British. This was the reality of the situation in the 18th century. The British began to impose regulations and taxations upon the people of the 13 colonies. Tensions and anger began to grow due to the idea of us being taxed but not represented. This fueled a desire, the want, the desire to have a country governed by our people and not a government across the ocean. The cry for independence grew louder with many demonstrations, including that of the Boston Tea Party. You see, on that day, some residents of Boston that wanted to fight the British rule threw a shipment of tea overboard in the Boston harbor. This was a protest showing the British that we were fed up, which means we were angered, we were sick of how they were treating us. To be specific, it was only 3 cents on every pound of tea. This is what enraged the soon-to-be Americans. Chapter 2, The Context. Now, let's talk a little bit about the context of the Revolutionary War. At the time, Britain was a global superpower with colonies all over the world. Our 13 colonies in the United States were but a small piece of the land that they had in total. However, the distance between the soon-to-be Americans and England grew larger as these soon-to-be Americans developed their own distinct American identity. As the conflict unfolded, both sides had their challenges. The British, confident in their military power, struggled with the unknown terrain of the Americas, while the American forces, comfortable with the terrain, were not as well equipped or trained, many just farmers and normal people. However, thanks to the great leadership of people like George Washington, the militias, the military of the Americans, were able to overcome the British. And of course, an honorable mention to France, which helped the soon-to-be Americans a lot, mostly through funding, meaning mostly by giving them money. Chapter 3, How the Americans Won. So how did these farmers and everyday people, normal people. How were they able to win a war against the British Empire? It was really mostly due to the strategic plans of the leaders in our militias, combined with the foreign assistance, the money given to us by France. The Battle of Saratoga in 1777 marked a turning point for the war. A turning point is when something changes a lot. What was the change? France agreed to enter into an alliance, into a friendship with the American militias. Then the Siege of Yorktown came about, and this was the final blow. American and French forces surrounded the British, forcing General Cornwallis to surrender, meaning give up or accept the loss. So the Treaty of Paris was then signed in 1783, formally recognizing the United States as an independent nation, which in that time was called the United Colonies. This ended the Revolutionary War of the United States. Chapter 4. How it inspired the French Revolution. The American Revolution sent shock across the Atlantic Ocean, all the way to the French people, and it inspired the French Revolution. The ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity that the Americans had developed sounded amazing. It sounded incredible to the French, which was already fighting with social inequality and political unrest. Of course, the storming of Bastille in 1789 and the rise of the French people echoed the spirit of independence and revolution once again. The new government of the French took a lot of inspiration from the American Revolution and from our Constitution, putting emphasis on equality, acceptance, and fraternity. Conclusion: the American Revolution was not just a normal war. It was a catalyst for change. It changed the world. It inspired movements for democracy and freedom worldwide. And that revolutionary spirit continues to shape our world today. Thanks for sticking with me till the end of the video. It was a pleasure talking to you about this subject. I hope that you learned some English words during this video. Like and subscribe for more episodes of Learn English Through History. Bye.